When big movie premieres and well-organized publicity events took place, there was also a secret side to Hollywood. People held very wild and daring parties that were so outrageous that even the nosy gossip could only whisper about them. This is the untold story of Hollywood's most well-known parties, filled with secret clubs, luxurious houses, and wild fun that went against the rules and strict morals of the day. The Garden of Secrets parties. Let's start our tale on the storied streets of Sunset Boulevard, where an establishment known in hushed conversations as the Garden of Allah became a sanctuary for those who lived life on the edge. Originally called Havenhurst and owned by a certain William H. This palatial retreat transformed completely when it fell into the hands of Alla Nasimova, a Russian actress with a magnetic allure and a life as complicated as any script. Nasimova, whose personal life defied the expectations of the era, opened her doors wide to the outcasts and the daring souls of Hollywood. Here, under the protective canopy of night, women who dared to love women found a safe haven. The term sewing circle, coined by Nasimova herself, became a discreet code for the clandestine gatherings of queer actresses. A community that, for one shining moment, could escape the suffocating judgments of society. With a burst of creative energy in 1926, Nasimova expanded her domain by adding 25 villas and converting the place into a hotel, turning it into an exclusive playground where scandal and passion reigned supreme. Inside these opulent walls, celebrities like Marlene Dietrich, Humphrey Bogart, and Greta Garbo mingled in a heady mix of glamour and secrecy. The parties here were a heady cocktail of whispered romances and wild antics, where even a simple cocktail could be the prelude to a life-changing encounter. One notorious anecdote tells of bandleader Tommy Dorsey, who, seeking to outdo his contemporaries, once strutted through the halls with two scantily clad companions, whose groomed hair reportedly spelled out his initials. It was a statement of audacity that perfectly captured the spirit of the garden, where the rules of society were merely suggestions, easily tossed aside in favor of a night of unabashed revelry. The glamour of the Mocambo parties. Fast forward to the dazzling Sunset Strip in the 1940s and 1950s, where another jewel in Hollywood's crown of secret revelry shone bright. The Mocambo Club. Unlike the secluded hideaways of the Garden of Allah, the Mocambo was a public yet intimate stage for excess, a place where the creme de la creme of Tinseltown could let their hair down and live out their most extravagant fantasies. The club's sophisticated ambiance belied the wild stories that simmered beneath its polished surface. Here, the clink of champagne glasses and the low hum of jazz set the backdrop for nights of unbridled celebration. At the Mocambo, the rules of decorum were rewritten every night. The exclusive guest list read like a roll call of Hollywood royalty, with A-list celebrities, influential producers, and high-powered socialites all mingling in an atmosphere charged with the promise of secret indulgence. Behind the softly lit corners of the club, discreet liaisons blossomed, a stolen kiss here, a fleeting touch there, and whispers of illicit rendezvous became the currency of the night. It was said that the very air of the Mocambo was laced with a heady mix of forbidden pleasure and rebellion against the moral strictures imposed by the outside world. While the details of every escapade might have been lost to time, the legacy of the Mocambo remains a testament to an era where excess was the norm, and every night was a chance to rewrite the rules of Hollywood's public image. The club was more than just a venue. It was an invitation to step into a world where the ordinary gave way to the extraordinary, where the clamor of applause on the screen was matched only by the secret applause of those behind the scenes. The Lake Tahoe escape. Cal-Neva Lodge parties. Leave the neon glow of Los Angeles for a moment and picture a serene retreat nestled against the breathtaking backdrop of Lake Tahoe, a place where the natural beauty of the landscape was the perfect foil for the wild celebrations of Hollywood's elite. This was the realm of the Cal-Neva Lodge, a venue transformed into an emblem of lavish debauchery when it was purchased by none other than Frank Sinatra himself. Under Sinatra's ownership, the Cal-Neva Lodge became synonymous with the kind of legendary nights that blurred the lines between performance and reality. The lodge, with its rustic charm and scenic vistas, was the ideal setting for the escapades of the Rat Pack, a close-knit group of entertainers whose camaraderie was matched only by their penchant for unforgettable parties. Imagine a night where champagne flowed as freely as conversation, where every toast was a salute to both the beauty of life and the thrill of living it on one's own terms. The lodge wasn't just a physical escape, it was a sanctuary where Hollywood's larger-than-life personalities could shed their public personas and embrace the raw, unfiltered thrill of the moment. Rumors of wild parties at Cal-Neva were woven into the fabric of Hollywood lore. Tales of spontaneous laughter, secret deals, and whispered confessions shared over the clatter of ice in a glass. It was a place where even the sternest Hollywood icons could allow themselves a moment of vulnerable abandon, letting the cool mountain air and the intoxicating buzz of nightlife erase the boundaries that so often confined them in the limelight. Breaking the code, the Hays Code rebellion parties. While the glitz and glamour of Hollywood's public image were carefully choreographed for the screen, behind closed doors there were gatherings that laughed in the face of censorship and convention. During the era when the Hays Code dictated strict moral guidelines for film content, a different kind of performance was taking place, one that dared to challenge the rigid standards imposed by the industry's moral watchdogs. These were the Hays Code parties, clandestine celebrations where Hollywood insiders staged their own rebellious shows. Picture an evening where the rules of decency were tossed aside like yesterday's script, where burlesque dancers took the stage with a ferocity that left audiences both mesmerized and scandalized. In these secret gatherings, explicit entertainment wasn't hidden in the shadows. It was put on full display as an act of defiance against the sanitized narratives of mainstream cinema. The parties became a stage for performers and revelers alike to experiment with their identities and push the limits of what was considered acceptable, all under the cover of darkness. At these events, inhibitions were not only dropped, they were discarded entirely. Couples and acquaintances mingled with a freedom that would have been unthinkable in the carefully curated world of studio productions. Extramarital affairs, whispered secrets, and daring displays of passion were all part of the evening's entertainment, a living counterpoint to the wholesome images that graced billboards and movie posters. And as alcohol and, rumor had it, more daring substances coursed through the veins of the revelers, the night grew ever bolder in its exploration of human desire. These Hays Code defiers were not merely partying, they were staging a quiet revolution, a refusal to be bound by the moral strictures of their day. Their gatherings were as much about celebrating personal freedom as they were about challenging the very notion of propriety, a silent yet explosive statement that behind every carefully crafted image lay a world that refused to be tamed. Mae West, the queen of provocateurs parties. Nowhere was the spirit of rebellion more embodied than in the wild, unfiltered parties hosted by the inimitable Mae West. With a presence as commanding as her name, Mae's soirees were not just events. They were spectacles that redefined the meaning of indulgence. Imagine an evening where Prohibition-era cocktails were served in sparkling crystal glasses, each clink echoing like a subtle snub to the laws of the land. Mae's parties were gatherings where Hollywood's elite could temporarily escape their public personas. Her lavish mansion became a realm where the ordinary transformed into the extraordinary, where the dance of light and shadow on the walls echoed the dance of secrets and desires within. Guests like Clark Gable, Greta Garbo, and Cary Grant would appear, their carefully maintained images melting away in the glow of candlelight in the heady atmosphere of unbridled revelry. Mae herself was a master of ceremony, a woman who could weave humor and innuendo into every conversation, setting the stage for an evening of riotous laughter and scandalous whispers. As the night progressed, what began as an elegant affair would morph into something far more provocative. Hidden corners of the mansion, draped in mystery and softly lit by flickering candles, became the backdrop for discreet trysts and whispered confessions. It wasn't uncommon for the party's mood to shift dramatically. What started as a sophisticated gathering would soon reveal layers of raw, unedited humanity. Guests shed their inhibitions as readily as they changed their outfits, surrendering to the lure of forbidden pleasures. Mae's parties, in their extravagant excess, became the epitome of Hollywood's duality, a public face of glamour concealing a private world where the rules of society were merrily thrown to the wind. A night in the Roaring Twenties parties. Step into another chapter of this grand saga, a tale that takes us to a party thrown by none other than Eddie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds in the mid-1950s. In a delightful twist of irony, the couple, who were at the zenith of their careers and embodied the promise of youth and vitality, decided to host an event that paid homage to a bygone era, the Roaring Twenties. In a time when the glamour of the past was both a refuge and an inspiration, Eddie and Debbie transformed their own home into a veritable speakeasy. Picture a garage converted into a playful sanctuary where the echoes of jazz and the clamor of laughter mingled in the air. Young stars of the day, like the ever-dashing Tab Hunter and the debonair Leon T., found themselves in an environment that encouraged them to cast aside their polished public personas. What began as an innocent celebration of youth and ambition soon evolved into a night of untamed revelry. As the clock ticked past midnight, the atmosphere took on an electric quality. The party, which had promised an homage to a more carefree age, quickly turned into a scene of wild abandon. Gentle glances gave way to lingering touches, and the boundaries that once separated stage performance from genuine emotion melted away in a haze of music, laughter, and an abundance of mischief. The Roaring Twenties night was more than just a themed event. It was a declaration that even in the glamorous world of Hollywood, the spirit of spontaneity and reckless joy was very much alive. For that one night, Eddie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds proved that behind the carefully curated images and scripted performances lay a raw, untamed energy that defied convention. MGM's 1937 Dark Night Parties. Not every night in Hollywood was a fairy tale of lavish excess. Some evenings turned unexpectedly sinister, leaving scars that would haunt those involved for decades. In 1937, MGM orchestrated what was meant to be a glamorous celebration for its top salesman, a night that promised the dazzle of red carpets and the charm of Hollywood's elite. But behind the glitter and fanfare lurked a darker reality. The event was designed with all the pomp and circumstance one would expect. Arriving by train in grand style, a private rail car laden with promise, and a grand entrance complete with motorcycle escorts. MGM's own Louis B. Mayer took to the stage, delivering a speech that set the tone for what was anticipated to be an unforgettable evening. And for a while, it seemed as if the night might live up to its glamorous setup. Yet, as the evening unfolded, the veneer of splendor began to crack. Amid the laughter, music, and the open bar, a young actress named Patricia Douglas found herself caught in a nightmare that no one could have foreseen. What was intended to be a celebratory gathering turned into an ordeal of exploitation. In a cruel twist of fate, the night escalated into a debacle that would have far-reaching consequences, a scandal that MGM worked hard to bury. Imagine a room filled with the buzz of excitement and the clamor of high expectations, only for the mood to shift abruptly into one of shock and despair. Patricia, who had come to the event with dreams like so many others, became a tragic symbol of the dark underbelly that sometimes accompanied Hollywood's glittering facade. Her experience was a grim reminder that in the world of fame and fortune, not every night ended with the soft glow of starlight. The scandal, though hushed up by the mighty studio, sent ripples through the industry, a cautionary tale of how even the grandest events could hide the most sinister secrets. Jane Mansfield's uninhibited mansion parties. If you thought the night could get any wilder, then let me tell you about Jane Mansfield, a star whose very presence was synonymous with audacity and unbridled passion. Mansfield wasn't content with merely gracing the silver screen. She lived her life as if every day were a daring performance, and her mansion in the Hollywood Hills was the stage upon which her wildest fantasies played out. Her home was not just a building, it was a living, breathing arena of excess. Picture a mansion aglow with the shimmer of party lights, its poolside transformed into a set that seemed straight out of a risque film. Guests at Jane's soirees weren't simply there to socialize. They were participants in a grand experiment in liberation. Rumors abounded that her gatherings were far more than elegant parties. Whispers spoke of orgies, of secret recordings meant for private viewing, and of affairs that blurred the lines between lust and performance. Yet beyond the salacious tales lay a deeper truth. Mansfield's parties were a rebellion against the suffocating expectations of Hollywood society. In a world that prized perfection and decorum, Jane's escapades were a declaration of individual freedom, a reminder that even in the brightest of spots, shadows could run deep. Her parties were the stuff of legend, filled with vivid characters, scandalous secrets, and moments of passion that transcended the ordinary. Each whispered story added to the myth of Jane Mansfield, a woman who embodied the paradox of glamour and grit in equal measure. Las Vegas, a night of Sin City splendor parties. We now shift our gaze from the glitzy streets of Hollywood to the neon-bathed avenues of Las Vegas, a city where the motto, "What happens here stays here," isn't just a slogan, but a way of life. One particular night in the early 1950s remains etched in the collective memory of Hollywood insiders. It was a night when the allure of the casino lights merged with the intoxicating freedom of a nightclub, creating a maelstrom of wild behavior that even the most conservative among us would find hard to fathom. On this fabled night, a famed Las Vegas nightclub became the backdrop for an all-out celebration that gathered some of the most illustrious names in showbiz. Montgomery Clift, the brooding heartthrob of the era, rubbed shoulders with a veritable who's who of entertainment legends. Desi Arnaz, with his infectious energy, Lucille Ball and her radiant charm, and the ever-enigmatic Marlene Dietrich all found themselves swept up in an atmosphere that was as electric as it was secret. The party began with the elegance of a formal dinner, a feast of glistening crystal and impeccably dressed guests. But as midnight approached, the transformation was almost magical. The meticulous order of the evening dissolved into a chaos of dancing bodies, laughter echoing in the smoky air, and whispers of mischief that only grew louder as the night deepened. Behind closed doors, the stars shed their carefully cultivated images. In this intimate enclave, every indulgence was permitted, every secret was shared, and every reveler was free to let the wild side of their nature take center stage. Here in Las Vegas, the rules were simple. Enjoy, indulge, and never speak of what transpired once the morning light crept over the horizon. It was a night where boundaries were mere suggestions, and the magic of the city ensured that whatever happened would remain forever locked away in the vaults of whispered history. Errol Flynn's eccentric escapades parties. No narrative of Hollywood debauchery would be complete without a nod to the ever-charismatic Errol Flynn. Known as much for his off-screen exploits as his swashbuckling roles on film, Flynn's parties were a carnival of eccentricity and audacity. Born with a wild spirit that refused to be tamed, Errol transformed his sprawling Spanish-style mansion into a playground where the line between fantasy and reality blurred with every passing hour. Flynn's gatherings were legendary for their mix of high-spirited merriment and surreal indulgence. Week after week, he opened his doors to a motley crew of Hollywood's elite. Figures like Clark Gable, David Niven, and Olivia de Havilland all found themselves drawn into the orbit of his extravagant lifestyle. In Flynn's home, the ordinary gave way to the extraordinary. Hidden alcoves and secret passageways within his mansion became the setting for clandestine encounters and whispered conspiracies, while the open-air patios provided a stage for exuberant displays of passion and revelry. At these eccentric parties, no detail was too extravagant. Top-shelf liquors were never in short supply, and the clamor of jazz music formed a relentless backdrop to nights of unbridled joy and, at times, inexplicable eccentricity. Flynn himself was the maestro of the evening, regaling his guests with fantastical stories of his adventures, laughing heartily as he toasted to a night that defied convention. It was a world where every guest was invited to embrace the sheer thrill of living on the edge, where every moment was a chance to cast off the trappings of fame and step into a realm of pure, unfiltered freedom. Hedda Hopper's epic birthday blowout parties. In the realm of Hollywood gossip, few names resonate as strongly as Hedda Hopper. A formidable force in her own right, Hopper was not only a gossip columnist whose pen could make or break careers, but she was also known to throw parties that were the envy of every socialite in town. One such birthday bash remains a landmark event, a night when the glitz of Hollywood met the raw energy of a celebration that defied all expectations. On this unforgettable evening, Hopper's mansion transformed into a veritable palace of excess. Every corner of the estate pulsed with a sense of anticipation and unrestrained revelry. Stars like Judy Garland and Clark Gable were among the many who gathered, each arrival a signal that the night was destined to become legendary. Photographers and reporters may have tried to capture the sparkle of the event, but much of what truly happened that night belonged to the realm of whispered lore. As the party unfolded, the generous flow of champagne and the infectious energy of the guests turned the celebration into a heady mix of laughter, scandal, and joy. The air was thick with secrets, with every whispered conversation and every shared toast adding to the tapestry of that epic night. Hopper's birthday bash was more than just a social event. It was a testament to Hollywood's unyielding desire to celebrate life, even when that celebration came at the expense of propriety. In that moment, every guest was a participant in a grand experiment of excess and liberation. Joan Crawford's 1951 revelry parties. Rewind the clock to 1951, a year when the glamour of Hollywood was still in its prime, and the echoes of the studio era resonated across every corner of the industry. That year, the formidable Joan Crawford decided to host a night that would become etched in the annals of Hollywood lore. The venue was the storied Store Club in New York, though the energy of the event was distinctly that of the Los Angeles elite. Joan Crawford, a powerhouse known for her commanding screen presence and indomitable spirit, was equally fearless when it came to letting her hair down. At Store Club, she arrived not merely as a guest, but as the undeniable star of the evening. Her presence lit up the room, her laughter and charisma blending seamlessly with the pulsating rhythm of the night. But as the evening progressed, the facade of glamour gave way to something wilder. Rumors began to swirl that what transpired behind the closed doors of the club was far removed from the carefully controlled images that the public saw on movie posters. Photographs from that night, a mix of candid moments and staged spontaneity, captured a side of Crawford that was as human as it was glamorous. For a few fleeting hours, the strict boundaries of Hollywood decorum were cast aside, replaced by an evening of uninhibited revelry that allowed everyone, even the indomitable Joan herself, to rediscover a sense of wild abandon. Sophia Loren's luminous soiree in Los Angeles parties. In 1957, when the allure of Hollywood was evolving into a blend of European elegance and American bravado, Sophia Loren threw a party that was nothing short of cinematic. The event was set on the sprawling lots of Paramount Pictures in Los Angeles, a place where magic and reality merged seamlessly. The guest list read like a veritable who's who of the movie industry, and the air was charged with anticipation as every arrival set the stage for an unforgettable night. At this luminous soiree, the attendees were not merely guests. They were co-creators of an atmosphere where glamour and mischief danced hand in hand. Among the illustrious invitees was none other than Jane Mansfield, whose daring presence and unmistakable allure only added fuel to the already blazing fire of that evening. The cameras might have captured the glimmer in Loren's eyes or the bold elegance of her attire, but it was the unspoken exchanges, the knowing smiles, the hushed whispers of secrets that told the real story of the night. Under the Los Angeles sky, where the glow of neon lights mingled with the natural brilliance of starlight, Sophia's party was a declaration of freedom. Here, every guest was invited to let go of their carefully rehearsed public personas and embrace a night of raw, unfiltered emotion. It was an evening where laughter, passion, and a touch of mischief intermingled to create memories that would be spoken of in reverent tones for years to come. A return to the garden, the wild garden of alla parties. As if to complete a circle of wild extravagance, our tale brings us back to a place that had once become the beating heart of Hollywood's most secretive escapades, the Garden of Allah. But this was not the quiet retreat of the past. This was a reinvention, a reimagining of an era defined by its audacity and its relentless pursuit of pleasure. In this version of the garden, the once stately hotel morphed into an arena where the spirit of the 1920s and 30s was not only preserved but amplified. The grand entrance, once a symbol of opulence, now beckoned those with a taste for the forbidden. As guests crossed the threshold, they were enveloped by the sultry strains of live jazz. a siren call to a world where every sip of a meticulously crafted cocktail was an invitation to indulge in life's most decadent secrets. Inside, the ambiance was thick with the scent of expensive perfume, the murmur of confidential conversations, and the glint of mischief in every eye. Here, legends like F. Scott Fitzgerald once roiled in passionate disputes, and every corner held the promise of a scandal waiting to erupt. The Garden of Allah, in this incarnation, was a place where excess was not only expected, it was celebrated with every brushstroke of wild abandon. The Beach House Fiasco, Marion Davies' extravaganza parties. Our final chapter takes us to the sun-drenched shores of Santa Monica in the 1920s, where the exclusive beach house of Marion Davies became the stage for gatherings that were as opulent as they were unpredictable. Under the golden Californian sun, amidst the crashing waves and the soft murmur of the Pacific, Davies and her companion, the powerful newspaper magnate William Randolph Hearst, hosted parties that blurred the line between paradise and pandemonium. At these beach house bashes, the scene was set for a carnival of human emotion. The venue, a sprawling estate with a direct view of the endless ocean, was decorated to evoke the splendor of a bygone era. Yet as night fell and the stars emerged, the atmosphere transformed dramatically. What began as a picture-perfect celebration soon escalated into a night where tensions flared and chaos reigned. One infamous incident even saw Hearst, known for his volatile temper, allegedly brandishing a firearm at none other than the silent film icon Charlie Chaplin during a heated exchange, a moment that encapsulated the fine line between spectacle and disaster. The beach house parties were a microcosm of Hollywood itself, a dazzling display of wealth, talent, and unchecked passion, interspersed with moments of unpredictable drama that would leave even the most hardened partygoers both exhilarated and terrified. In this setting, every laugh, every tear, every whispered secret was magnified by the crashing waves in the vast expanse of the ocean, a reminder that behind every glittering facade lay the untamed forces of nature and human emotion. Ciro's Cabaret soiree parties. Imagine a night at Ciro's, the legendary nightclub tucked away in the heart of West Hollywood, where neon glows met the mystery of shadowed alcoves. In this secret realm, the usual boundaries of respectability dissolved amid the rhythmic pulse of Latin jazz and the clink of crystal glasses. Ciro's wasn't merely a venue. It was a living stage where icons of the silver screen, men and women alike, united for an evening of seductive abandon and whispered confidences. In this nocturnal haven, the air was thick with the scent of expensive cigars and the unmistakable aroma of exotic perfumes. Celebrities slipped into discreet booths, exchanging knowing glances as if sharing an unspoken language of rebellion. There were tales of impromptu performances, an offhand rendition of a blues ballad by a hidden gem of a musician, or a whispered recitation of a scandalous sonnet that left the audience in hushed awe. It was said that on one unforgettable evening, a dashing actor, whose rugged charm lit up the screen, traded secret smiles with a mysterious chanteuse. Their silent exchange set off a chain reaction of whispered rendezvous in the secluded corners of Cairo's. The night grew as the music swelled, and the club's patrons, fueled by the thrill of anonymity, surrendered to a night where every moment promised both danger and delight. Here, boundaries blurred. The elegance of tuxedos and the daring of daring dresses created a paradox where tradition danced with temptation. Ciro's Cabaret soiree was more than a party. It was an immersive escape from the stifling glare of the public eye. As guests reveled in the after-hours glow, the club transformed into an enchanted labyrinth of secret passageways and private tables, each a microcosm of Hollywood's unfiltered soul. Laughter mingled with soft jazz, and behind every flirtatious smile lay a story of defiance against the strict decorum demanded by the studio system. In that electrifying atmosphere, Ciro's became a sanctuary for those who dared to taste freedom in every sip and every clandestine conversation. Goldwyn's midnight masquerade parties. Step into a different kind of wonder. A midnight masquerade hosted by none other than one of Hollywood's influential moguls, Samuel Goldwyn. Far removed from the everyday glitz of film premieres, Goldwyn's gatherings were shrouded in mystery and elegance. Picture an opulent mansion on the outskirts of the city, its grand halls draped in sumptuous fabrics and lit by the soft, seductive glow of candlelight. This was the setting for a masquerade ball where identities were hidden behind ornate masks, and every guest was both a performer and a participant in an unfolding drama of intrigue. At Goldwyn's Midnight Masquerade, the rules of the everyday world were suspended. Celebrities donned elaborate costumes and intricate masks, transforming themselves into enigmatic figures out of a fabled romance or a timeless legend. The anonymity was intoxicating. It allowed even the most celebrated stars to step beyond the rigid scripts of their public personas and embrace the playful, even scandalous sides of their natures. Throughout the night, whispered conversations in hidden corridors and secret alcoves wove together, stories of daring escapades and forbidden liaisons. In one storied moment, a renowned leading lady, ever the picture of poise and mystery, was seen laughing with a notorious Playboy actor, their masked faces close enough to share secrets meant for no other ears. The mansion's corridors echoed with the soft murmur of confessions and the rustle of silk as masked guests glided from room to room, their true identities safely concealed by layers of glittering mystique. The masquerade was punctuated by an extravagant performance, a theatrical interlude that blurred the lines between reality and fantasy. A troupe of acrobats and dancers took to an impromptu stage, their graceful movements symbolizing the hidden passion of a city that lived for its secrets. As the performance reached its crescendo, the crowd was swept up in a sense of communal liberation. For those few enchanted hours, the rigid distinctions of class, fame, and expectation were set aside, replaced by a singular desire to celebrate life in all its unpredictable, thrilling glory. Goldwyn's Midnight Masquerade was a night of elegant subversion, a carnival of mystery where the allure of the unknown invited even the most guarded souls to bare their inner desires. In that world of masked revelry, every shared glance and every hushed laugh was a testament to the hidden lives of Hollywood's elite, a reminder that behind every perfectly composed public image lay a heart yearning for a taste of unfettered freedom.